श्रुतिस्मृतिपुराणानामालयं करुणालयं नमामि भगवत्पादशङ्करं लोकशङ्करं शङ्करं शङ्कराचार्यं केशवं बादरायणं सूत्रभाष्यकृतौ वन्दे भगवन्तौ पुनः पुनः। ओम श्री गुरुभ्यो नमः। Self knowledge is about knowing ourselves. We took up this theme, this title itself, in some detail yesterday, and the main point that I shared with all of you last evening was that the Upanishadic vision dismisses the separate self as any real entity. The Upanishadic vision declares that the sense of I that all of us have in the form of I won, I lost, I am worthy or I am good for nothing, I am better than her but not as good as him, and so on, that sense of comparative I, that sense of separate self is a mischief of the mind. It is a play of the mind. It is born of ignorance. It is the product of avidya. This is the position of the Upanishads, especially as presented by Adi Shankaracharya. The Upanishads, which are called the Vedanta or the Vedantas, have been interpreted in several ways by the great acharyas, Sri Shankaracharya, Sri Ramanujacharya, Sri Madhvacharya, and many more. And personally, I respect all of them. I have very great reverence to all those acharyas. I am nobody to say he is right and he is not right. However, I have been highly drawn, deeply drawn to Shankara Vedanta. Let me make it clear. Personally, Shankara Vedanta has appealed to me tremendously, has given me great peace, has over more than 3 decades now kept me inspired. I am fond of telling people often, in 1984, 31 years ago, if I left everything and joined an ashram, though later on certain changes took place in terms of how I looked at this spirituality, this philosophy, one thing without batting an eyelid, I would say, is I have absolutely no regrets at taking this path or going for this direction. No regrets. In fact, to the contrary, I am so glad that I made that decision. And this Shankara Vedanta, presented by Shankara, is called Shankara. Shankara Vedanta is very, very wonderful. However, I would at the same time say, since I have not studied Madhva or the other Vishishtadvaita, I have no right to come out with any conclusive judgment. And my own guess or my own inkling, my own intuitive grasp is, whatever those great acharyas said also is in the same direction, in purest devotion to Lord Vishnu, Srimad Madhvacharya would say, life becomes fulfilled. I would imagine that the ego in us, the separate self in us, this I which is in fear, which lives in insecurity, goes away. One lives in a great sense of being assured. I am with Hari. Lord Vishnu is with me. Nothing can happen to me. Is the great security that a Vaishnava would experience. Similarly, in Sri Vaishnava would feel tremendous abhayam, tremendous fearlessness. And in that sense, there is a great common ground. As it has been said already, my tremendous inspiration from Shankara Vedanta was further fortified, further reinforced by the very, very illuminating revelations or statements of Sri Ramana Maharshi. And in the literature of Sri Ramana Maharshi, what I find as most notable is spirituality itself is defined over there as absence of egoism. Erase the ego, strike at the root of your egoism. Take note, recognize, watch, and see how your mind creates a sense of separateness. Question it, interrogate it. Do not leave it just like that. Do not take the idea of who you are for its face value. Every time you feel you have done well or you have failed, rather than going into details of how you did well or how you failed, Maharshi Ramana used to say, find out who did well and who failed. And upon getting the answer, what are you talking? I did well, I failed. Maharshi would say, find out who is that I. And you say, what? What is this question? Who is this I? Yes, it is the greatest question. Who am I? And this question, who am I, conducted in a proper way, shows to us that this I, about which I thought, I won, or some other time, I lost, right? This I, to which I attributed victory or defeat, actually is an illusion. This I subsides. This separate I subsides, and what then remains is not void, not shunya, rather it is the understanding that there is one reality, I am that. I am that indivisible truth, and this personality over here is in its place. We neither dismiss it nor give it undue importance. The idea of I failed or I won goes away. And this beautifully reinforces Shankara Vedanta, or Shankara Vedanta goes so well with Sri Ramana Maharshi's ministry, Sri Ramana Maharshi's body of teachings. So here we are to take a look at what this erasure of the ego is, what this disappearance or subsiding of the separate self, which yesterday I said is a psychological construction. It is made by the mind. Suppose you have a lot of money, that is fact. But on that basis, if you think that you are a better human being than your neighbor who has less money, that is psychological. Suppose you have some ailment and somebody else is fit and fine, hale and healthy. And this, you are being unwell physically and the other person being very fit, having athletic fitness, is a fact, bodily, on the plane of the body. But if you think, alas, because of this ill health, my life is ruined, I am so wretched, I am such a terrible fellow, I am miserable, oh my God, and so on, that is psychological. For, in a manner of saying, quite possibly, in spite of your physical illness, you could be happier, you could be more fulfilled, you could be in bliss too. The Vedanta says, your wealth or lack of it, your health or lack of it, your fame or absence of it, it is a long list. All those things are not really they don't determine your being well. There was a devotee of Sri Ramana Maharshi. First there was Arthur Osborne, and Arthur Osborne's son was Adam Osborne. Now he is also no more. When he too grew old and was quite unwell, one evening he came to attend the Arati at Sri Ramanashram, and his body was trembling, he was having a walking stick, I guess he came on a wheelchair, something like that, and somebody went to him and said sympathetically, very sorry to see you in this way, sir. And though his body was trembling, and definitely he was not looking all that good through our usual eyes, he actually questioned that person. What? Why do you sympathize with me? I am in bliss. I am in bliss, he said, while anybody who looks at him would not think so. I need not elaborate. All of you know, looks are deceptive. Somebody's wealth might make you envy him. Quite possibly he is more sad than you. Somebody's looks, or somebody's fame, someone's name, etc., or somebody's scholarship might make you envy. Please do not have any misgivings about this speaker also, thinking, oh, he speaks so well, he might be very happy. Please don't be envious of me. You never know. You could be happier than me. All this is a show. Because scholarship or wealth or name or fame, they have their place. They serve a purpose. I do not say that these lectures are a waste. These lectures are helpful. But let no such thing make you come to a conclusion about your worth. In simple words, in a simple summary, friends, Vedanta awakens you. The Upanishads awaken you to an unbelievable recognition that your self-worth is independent of what your personality is going through. Now there was a request from some people who do not follow English very well to give a bit of a summary in between in Kannada. Please, those who don't know Kannada, bear with me. I'll give a little summary of what I have said so far. Atma Jnana, self-knowledge. ನಮ್ಮನ್ನು ನಾವು ಅರಿಯುವಂಥ ಪ್ರಶ್ನೆ, ನಾನು ಯಾರು ಅನ್ನುವುದಕ್ಕೆ ಉತ್ತರವನ್ನು ಕಂಡುಕೊಳ್ಳುವ ಹಾಗೆ ನಾವು ನಡೆಸುವಂತಹ ಪ್ರಯತ್ನ. ಈ ಆತ್ಮಜ್ಞಾನದ ಮುಖಗಳು, ಈ ಆತ್ಮಜ್ಞಾನದ ಬೇರೆ ಬೇರೆ ರೂಪಗಳು ಏನು, ಈ ಆತ್ಮಜ್ಞಾನಕ್ಕೆ ಸಂಬಂಧಪಟ್ಟಂತಹ ವಿಷಯಗಳೇನು ಇತ್ಯಾದಿ ನಾವು ನೋಡ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದೇವೆ. ನಿನ್ನೆಯ ದಿನ ನಾನು 4 ಮಾತುಗಳನ್ನು ಹೇಳಿದೆ. ಅದನ್ನು ಇನ್ನೊಮ್ಮೆ ಸಾರಾಂಶವನ್ನು ಹೇಳಲಿಕ್ಕೆ ಹೊರಟೆ ಇವತ್ತು. ಅಲ್ಲೇನಂತ ಹೇಳಿದರೆ, ನಮ್ಮೆಲ್ಲರಲ್ಲೂ ದೇಹಗಳು ಬೇರೆ ಬೇರೆ ಆಗಿವೆ, ನಮ್ಮೆಲ್ಲರ ವ್ಯಕ್ತಿತ್ವಗಳು ಭಿನ್ನವಾಗಿವೆ. ಆ ಪ್ರಕಾರ, ಆ ಆಧಾರದ ಮೇಲೆ ನಾವೆಲ್ಲರೂ ನಾವು ಇಂಥವರು ಅವರಿಗಿಂತ ಮೇಲೆ, ಇವರಿಗಿಂತ ಕೆಳಗೆ, ಅವರಷ್ಟು ಯಶಸ್ವಿ ಅಲ್ಲ, ಇವರಿಗಿಂತ ಹೆಚ್ಚು ಯಶಸ್ವಿ ಅಂತ ಬೇರೆ ಬೇರೆ ಥರ ಹೋಲಿಕೆಯನ್ನು ಮಾಡುತ್ತಾ ಪುನಃ ಪುನಃ ಈ ವಿಚಾರಗಳ ಮಾಧ್ಯಮದಲ್ಲಿ, ಈ ವೃತ್ತಿಗಳ ಮೂಲಕ, ವಿಚಾರಕ್ಕೆ ವೃತ್ತಿ ಅಂತೇವೆ, ವಿಚಾರ, ವೃತ್ತಿ, ಥಾಟ್, ಈ ಮನಸ್ಸಿನ ವೃತ್ತಿಗಳ ಮೂಲಕ ನಮ್ಮಲ್ಲೊಂದು ಬಹಳ ಸತ್ಯವಾಗಿ ತೋರುವಂತಹ ನಾನು ಅನ್ನುವುದು ಉದ್ಭವಿಸ್ತದೆ. ಈ ನಾನು ಅನ್ನುವುದು ಉದ್ಭವಿಸಿ ಅದು ಎಷ್ಟು ದೃಢವಾಗಿರುತ್ತಂತ ಹೇಳಿದರೆ ಅದು ಸುಳ್ಳು ಅಂತ ಯಾರೂ ಕನಸಿನಲ್ಲೂ ಕೂಡ ಊಹಿಸಲಿಕ್ಕಿಲ್ಲ. ಆದರೆ ಉಪನಿಷತ್ತುಗಳ ಸಂದೇಶ ಏನಂತ ಹೇಳಿದರೆ, ವಾಸ್ತವವಾಗಿ ಸತ್ಯವಾಗಿಯೂ ಈ ತುಲನಾತ್ಮಕವಾದ ಹೋಲಿಕೆಯಿಂದ ಇವರಿಗಿಂತ ಮೇಲೆ ಅವರಿಗಿಂತ ಕೆಳಗೆ ಅಂತ ಒಂದು ಉಂಟಾಗ್ತದಲ್ಲ, ಆ ನಾನನ್ನುವುದು ಸುಳ್ಳು. ನಿಮಗೆ ಯಾವುದೋ ನಷ್ಟ ಆಗಿರ್ಬೋದು, ಹಣ ಹೊರಟೋಗಿರ್ಬೋದು, ಆರೋಗ್ಯ ಹಾಳಾಗಿರಬಹುದು, ಅಥವಾ ನಿಮಗಿರುವ ಒಳ್ಳೆ ಹೆಸರು ಇವಾಗ ಇಲ್ಲದಿರ್ಬೋದು, ಅಥವಾ ಇನ್ನೊಂದು ಕಡೆ ಒಳ್ಳೆ ಹೆಸರು ಬಂದಿರ್ಬೋದು ನಿಮಗೆ, ಸರಿಯಾಗಿಯೋ ತಪ್ಪಾಗಿಯೋ. ನಿಮ್ಮನ್ನು ತಪ್ಪು ತಿಳ್ಕೊಂಡು ಜನರು ಗೌರವಿಸಿರಬಹುದು ಕೆಲವೊಮ್ಮೆ, ಏನೇ ಇರಲಿ. ಅಂತೂ ಏನೆಲ್ಲ ಆಗ್ತದೆ, ಸೋಲು ಗೆಲುವುಗಳು ಆಗ್ತಾ ಇರ್ತವೆ. ಅದೆಲ್ಲ ಆಗ್ತಿರುವಾಗ ನಿಮ್ಮಲ್ಲಿ ನಿಮ್ಮ ಬಗ್ಗೆ ಇಂಥವನು ನಾನು, ಅಂಥವಳು ನಾನು ಅಂತ ಉಂಟಾಗ್ತದಲ್ಲ, ಅದು ತನ್ನ ಸ್ಥಾನದಲ್ಲಿ ಇದೆ. ಆದರೆ ಸತ್ಯವಾಗಿ ನೀವು ಆ ಪ್ರಕಾರ ಮೇಲೆ ಬರುವವರು ಅಲ್ಲ, ಕೆಳಗೆ ಹೋಗುವವರು ಅಲ್ಲ. ನೀವು ಯಾವಾಗಲೂ ಒಂದೇ ರೀತಿಯಲ್ಲಿ ಇರತಕ್ಕಂಥ ಒಂದು ವಿಶೇಷವಾದ ತತ್ವ. ನೀವು ಎಂತಹ ತತ್ವ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಿದರೆ, ಆ ತತ್ವಕ್ಕೆ ಹಣ ಬಂದಾಗ ಯಾವ ಲಾಭ ಇಲ್ಲ, ಹಣ ಹೊರಟೋದಾಗ ಯಾವ ನಷ್ಟ ಇಲ್ಲ. ನೀವು ಯಾವ ಆತ್ಮತತ್ವ ಆಗಿದ್ದೀರಿ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಿದರೆ, ಆ ಸತ್ಯವಾಗಿಯೂ ನೀವು ಆಗಿರುವಂತಹ ಆತ್ಮತತ್ವಕ್ಕೆ ಖ್ಯಾತಿಯಿಂದ, ವಿಖ್ಯಾತಿಯಿಂದ ಅಥವಾ ಅಪಮಾನದಿಂದ ಯಾವ ಲಾಭ ನಷ್ಟ ಇಲ್ಲ. ಅಂದರೆ ನಿಮ್ಮ ನಿಜವಾದ ಬೆಲೆ, ನಿಮ್ಮ ನಿಜವಾದ ಮೌಲ್ಯ, ನಿಮ್ಮ ನಿಜವಾದ ಒಂದು ಸ್ಥಾನ ಈ ಪ್ರಪಂಚದ ಆಗುಹೋಗುಗಳ ಮೇಲೆ ಅವಲಂಬಿಸುವುದಿಲ್ಲ. ಇದರ ಅರ್ಥ ಏನಾಯಿತು? ಈ ಪ್ರಕಾರ ಅದು ಅವಲಂಬಿಸುವುದಿಲ್ಲ ಅಂದರೆ ನೀವು ಬಹಳ ಶಾಂತಿಯಿಂದ, ಬಹಳ ಒಂದು ಭದ್ರತೆಯಿಂದ, ಬಹಳ ಒಳಗಿನ ಸ್ಥಿರತೆಯಿಂದ, ಒಳಗೆ ನಿಮ್ಮ ಬಗ್ಗೆ ನೀವು ಯಾವಾಗಲೂ ನಿಶ್ಚಿಂತರಾಗಿದ್ದುಕೊಂಡು ನಿಮ್ಮ ಕರ್ತವ್ಯಗಳನ್ನೆಲ್ಲ ನಿರ್ವಹಿಸ್ಬೋದು. ಇವಾಗ ನೀವು ಈ ಅಹಂಕಾರ, ಅಹಂಕೃತಿ ಅನ್ನುವುದರ ವಶವಾಗಿರುವುದರಿಂದ ಪುನಃ ಪುನಃ ಚಿಂತೆ ಮಾಡ್ತೀರ. ಅಲ್ಲ, ಅವರಿಗೆ ನಾವು ಪ್ರೀತಿ ತೋರಿಸಿದರೆ ನಾಳೆ ಏನಾಗುತ್ತೆ ಅಂತ ಭಯ. ಯಾರೋ ಒಬ್ಬರು, ಇದು ನಾನು ಇಂಗ್ಲೀಷ್ನಲ್ಲಿ ಹೇಳಲಿಲ್ಲ, ಈಗ ಕನ್ನಡದಲ್ಲಿ ಹೇಳ್ತೀನಿ, ಹುಲ್ಲುಗಾವಲಿನ ಮೇಲೆ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ನಿಂತಿದ್ರಂತೆ. ಒಂದೇನೋ ಹುಳ ಅವ್ರ ಎರಡು ಕಾಲುಗಳ ಮಧ್ಯೆ ಹೋಗ್ತಿತ್ತಂತೆ. ಒಂದು ಕಾಲು ಎತ್ತಿ ಆ ಹುಳುವನ್ನು ಜಜ್ಜಿ ಕೊಂದುಬಿಟ್ರಂತೆ. ಆಗ ಒಬ್ಬರು ಮಿತ್ರರು ಕೇಳಿದ್ರಿ, ಯಾಕಪ್ಪ ಯಾಕೆ ಕೊಂದ್ರಿ ಹುಳುವನ್ನು, ಏನು ಮಾಡ್ತಾ ಹುಳು ಅಂತ ಕೇಳಿದರೆ, ಇವತ್ತು ಒಂದು ಹುಳು ಹೋಗ್ತಾ ಇದೆ, ಈ ಥರ ಬಿಟ್ಟರೆ ನಾಳೆ ಆನೆ ಹೋಗುತ್ತೆ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಿದರು. ಎಲ್ಲಿಂದ ಎಲ್ಲಿಗೆ? ಅಲ್ಲ, ಈ ಒಂದು ಹಾಸ್ಯ ಸ್ವಲ್ಪ ಅತಿಶಯೋಕ್ತಿ, ನಾನು ಒಪ್ತೀನಿ, ಕ್ಷಮಿಸಬೇಕು. ಆದರೆ ಅದರಲ್ಲಿ ಆ ಹಾಸ್ಯದ ಮೂಲಕ ನಾವು ತಿಳಿಸೋದು ಏನಂತ ಹೇಳಿದರೆ, ನಮ್ಮಲ್ಲಿರುವ ಆ ಒಂದು ಭದ್ರತೆಯ ಅಭಾವ. ನಾಳೆ ಏನಾಗ್ತದೋ ಗೊತ್ತಿಲ್ಲ. ಎಷ್ಟೇ ನಮ್ಮಲ್ಲಿ ಶ್ರೀಮಂತಿಕೆ ಇರ್ಬೋದು, ಎಷ್ಟೇ ನಾವು ಪ್ರಸಿದ್ಧರಿರ್ಬೋದು, ಆದರೂ ಒಂದು ಭಯ, ನಾಳೆ ಏನಾಗ್ತದೆ ಅಂತ. ಈ ಭಯವನ್ನು ಹೋಗಲಾಡಿಸುವುದೇ ಉಪನಿಷತ್ತುಗಳ ಕಾರ್ಯ. ಯಾಕಂದರೆ ಉಪನಿಷತ್ತುಗಳ ಮೂಲಕ ನಾವು ನಮ್ಮನ್ನು ಒಂದು ಹೊಸ ದೃಷ್ಟಿಯಲ್ಲಿ, ಹೊಸ ಬೆಳಕಿನಲ್ಲಿ ನೋಡಿಕೊಂಡಾಗ ಈ ಪ್ರಕಾರವಾಗಿ ಭಯ ಇರುವುದಿಲ್ಲ. ನಾವು ಯಾರನ್ನು ಇತರರು ಅಂತ ಕರೀತೇವಲ್ಲ, ಆ ಇತರರನ್ನು ಸತ್ಯವಾಗಿಯೂ ಪ್ರೀತಿಸಬಹುದು, ಪ್ರೇಮದಿಂದ, ಸ್ನೇಹದಿಂದ ವರ್ತಿಸಲಿಕ್ಕೆ ಸಾಧ್ಯ ಇದೆ. ಇದು ಆತ್ಮಜ್ಞಾನ. ಉಪನಿಷತ್ತು ಹೇಳುವ ಆತ್ಮಜ್ಞಾನದಲ್ಲಿ ಸಾಮಾನ್ಯ ಕಲ್ಪನೆ, ನಮ್ಮ ಬಗ್ಗೆ ನಮ್ಮಲ್ಲಿರುವಂತಹ ಸಾಮಾನ್ಯ ಕಲ್ಪನೆ ಶಿಥಿಲವಾಗ್ತದೆ. ಶಿಥಿಲವಾಗುವುದಂತ ಹೇಳಿದ್ರೆ ಅದು ಅಲಗಾಡ್ತದೆ. ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಇಲ್ಲಿ ನಿಮಗೆ ಅನಿಸ್ತದೆ, ಹೌದಲ್ಲ, ನಿಜವಾಗಿ ನಾನು ಚಿಂತೆ ಮಾಡಬೇಕಾಗಿಲ್ಲ, ಇದೆಲ್ಲ ಮನಸ್ಸಿನ ಆಟ ಅಲ್ವಾ ಅಂತ ನಿಮ್ಗೆ ಗೊತ್ತಾಗ್ತದೆ. ಇನ್ನಷ್ಟು ಅಧ್ಯಯನ ಮಾಡಿ, ಇನ್ನಷ್ಟು ಶ್ರವಣ ಮಾಡಿ, ಆ ಶ್ರವಣ ಮಾಡಿ ಅದರ ನಂತರ ಮನನ ನಿಧಿಧ್ಯಾಸನ ಅನ್ನುವುದಾಗಿ ಉಂಟಾಗ್ತವೆ. ಎಷ್ಟೆಷ್ಟರ ಮಟ್ಟಿಗೆ ನಿಮ್ಮಲ್ಲಿ ಒಂದು ವ್ಯಕ್ತಿತ್ವ ಏಕೀಕರಣವಾಗ್ತದೆಯೋ, ವ್ಯಕ್ತಿತ್ವದಲ್ಲಿ ಒಂದು ಯೋಗ ಉಂಟಾಗ್ತದೋ, ಒಂದುಗೂಡುವಿಕೆ ಉಂಟಾಗ್ತದೋ, ಅಷ್ಟರ ಮಟ್ಟಿಗೆ ಈ ಒಂದು ಜ್ಞಾನ ಬರೇ ಪುಸ್ತಕ ಜ್ಞಾನವಾಗಿ ಉಳಿಯದೆ ನಿಮ್ಮ ಅನುಭವ ಗಮ್ಯವಾಗ್ತದೆ. ಇವಾಗ ಪುನಃ ಈ ವಿಚಾರವನ್ನು ಮುಂದೊಯ್ತೇನೆ. ಮತ್ತೊಮ್ಮೆ ಸಾರಾಂಶವನ್ನು ಹೇಳ್ತೇನೆ ಸ್ವಲ್ಪ ಹೊತ್ತಿನ ನಂತರ. ಟುಡೇ ವಿ ಶಾಲ್ ಸಿ ಇನ್ ವಾಟ್ ಮೋರ್ ವೇಸ್ ದಿ ಉಪನಿಷತ್ಸ್ ಪ್ರೆಸೆಂಟ್ this self-knowledge. How exactly the true nature of ours is presented or pointed out by the Upanishads. In the Kenopanishad, the very question in the beginning is something that demands what is beyond the mind. The very first word in Kenopanishad is Kena. Keneshitam patati preshitam manaha. Kena pratama pranam. Keneshitam. What is that? Keneshitam patati preshitam manaha. Kena prana pratama praiti yuktaha. Keneshitam vacham imam vadanti. Chakshu shrotram kaudevo yunakti. This is the mantra. First take the first line. Keneshitam patati preshitam manaha. Manaha, mind. Prompted by what? Directed by what? Pushed or provoked or directed by what does our mind go towards its objects? Upanishads are no ordinary literature. They are not here asking for some usual medical answer. Oh, there is a brain and that is the source of thoughts, etc. That is ordinary. That's on a plane that the world ordinarily recognizes. But when Kenopanishad asks, Keneshitam patati preshitam manaha, you must understand that before this disciple asked that question and the teacher went about answering it, there must have been a certain background. There must have been some amount of dialogues. It is said that Upanishads are bits and pieces of certain elaborate learning, teaching and discussion that had taken place. So, we do not have all those class notes. We do not have summaries of all those earlier discussions. But the teacher and student had come to a point where the student has an inkling. The student, he or she, it could be a man, it could be a woman. In the Upanishads, we have people like Maitreyi or Gargi and others, ladies too. Then there are men, Shaunaka or Nachiketa and so on. So, he or she. But for simplicity of language, here onward I must just say he, excuse me. It doesn't imply it could be only men. So, the student here has already reached a certain state, certain level of consciousness, and he is asking not for just one more item, one more factor in an endless chain of factors. B is behind A, C is behind B, D is behind C, and what's behind D? Oh, there is E, and what's behind E? There is F. So A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, like that. What are all the 26 alphabets over? You take numbers 1, 2, 3. That is not the idea. Is there something where the buck stops? Is there something that makes possible all this functioning of the mind, of our personality, of all our existence? What is the basis of our existence? Is the question of the student whose name we do not know. In Kena Upanishad of Samaveda, we don't know who the student is. We don't know who the teacher is. Apparently, our rishis did not care for name and fame. They left behind the teachings without bothering about their names to become, eternal, become permanent, become famous. Leave it aside. So, you would wonder, what is then meant by asking what is behind one's mind, what is behind one's thought? Let me say at this point, in human life, vast majority of people are worshippers of the body. They are constantly interested in gratifying the senses. Even you and I go through it for certain periods of time every day. Not that we are all the time eager to hear Vedanta or teach Vedanta. But then, some people almost 24/7 are body conscious. Let it be so. We are not here to judge anybody. It is mysterious, in fact, what makes some people go to higher levels of thinking. What makes some people rishis, mantra drashtaraha. They are able to see even mantras. Vedic mantras or elsewhere in science, in economics and so on. What makes people intuitively see what nobody else sees? That is a very mysterious issue. So, let me say, here is our body with eyes, ears, nose, tongue and skin, which are all the time demanding very many things, and to fulfill their demands is an endless affair, generally. But by divine grace or whatever else you may call, some of us become more anchored in the mind. In fact, humanity prides over its own power of thought. Humanity worships thought. In the last millennium, which means 1000 years, whom did the Time magazine choose as man of the millennium? It was Albert Einstein. Mahatma Gandhi also was in the race. Gandhi did not run in the race, meaning when they asked for opinion around the world, a lot of people suggested M.K. Gandhi's name. And a whole lot also gave out Einstein's name. And the well-known Time magazine finally announced Albert Einstein as man of the millennium. Now, why does Time magazine, which again represents the popular, the intellectual side of humanity, why does it choose Einstein? Brain power. He was able to think in extraordinary ways. He was able to make statements which most of us even today don't understand. Time is relative and space is curved, etc. Very, very daunting statements. And he was able to unravel the mysteries of atoms, of galaxies. He was the greatest physicist of last century. But I am saying here, humanity, you and I, are in awe about thought, power of thought, through thinking what we can discover. But the Upanishads, which respect thought, actually point to something that is beyond thought, that is not bound by thought. Kena Upanishad's statement points to that. In answer to the student's question, the teacher comes forth saying, it is, what is the first line? That was the question. The answer, does somebody remember? No. He says, though question was Shrotrasya, that is right. Question was, what prompts the mind? The answer is, thank you. Shrotrasya shrotram manaso manoyat pranasya pranaha vachoha vacham sau pranasya pranaha. That is the answer. There's a little more. Shrotrasya shrotram manaso manoyat vachoha vacham sau pranasya pranaha chakshushas chakshuhu atimuchya dhiraha pretyasma lokad amrita bhavanti. Second mantra. But what is relevant straight away to the question is the second part. After saying shrotrasya shrotram, leave it aside whatever it is, there is the expression manaso manaha. Literally taken, it means the mind of the mind. If you don't mind. It is the mind of the mind. What is this queer expression? Mind of the mind. You see, we already said, Upanishads are no ordinary literature. And for that matter, any subject, science or economics, astronomy or astrology, language or any subject under the sun has its own style, its own terminology. Any subject, those who delve deep into it start using special expressions, which others won't follow immediately. Others will have to get familiar with the nuances of that subject. So, that is where we take help from the Acharyas, Adi Shankara and others, make it very clear. Let's take this expression, Manaso Manaha. Manaso Manaha means mind of the mind, which actually it is made clear in the Upanishad itself in a few more mantras later. So putting all of them together, putting two and two together as you say, what it means is there is something which may be called mind of the mind, which makes the mind function, but actually it itself doesn't have the qualities of the mind. That is why we said the Upanishads give to us a window to something beyond the mind. You and I think. All of us think. We think, we feel. What is thought? Thought is, you and I experience thought as a certain recognition. Suppose suddenly I take out my pen and hold it like this. All of you look at the pen and a thought arises in your mind, in you. And a word arises. Oh, Swamiji is showing us a pen. In English or Kannada, Hindi or Tamil, in some language, you will think of it. There is a recognition, here is a pen, and there is a word. One is pratyaya, idea, then another is shabda. So, shabda and pratyaya, the game begins. One shabda may lead to more shabdas. One word may lead to, if some of you know several languages, you may say, oh, this is pen. Lekani ಅಂತ ತೋರಿಸ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದಾರೆ. Kalam dikha rahe hain. There are many languages. Those of us who are more well-read have a strength as well as a weakness. Strength at times when it is helpful. Weakness when we have to keep our mouth shut, we cannot. So many words come, so many thoughts come. We want to be silent, but we just cannot be silent. The knowledge stored in us as though bursts forth in the form of many, many words. Alright? So thought. But most central to all thoughts is the thought of who I am. We have discussed this already. This thought, who I am. Suppose a friend of yours comes driving a Mercedes car and you look at him, when did he get this? He now owns a Mercedes Benz. First you recognize the Mercedes Benz. A thought about the expensive car rose in you. Then the thought arose, this friend of mine, he was so poor in mathematics, I used to teach him. He took help from me to pass all the exams. And now he has a Mercedes. I have a Maruti Zen which is in the garage now, which is gone for repair. Then generally, if you are not careful enough, if you have not been, spiritually very mature, a certain sense of, I have not been so fortunate. I have not been so blessed as this guy. This world is for people like him only. ಕಾಲ ಕೆಟ್ಟೋಗಿದೆ ಸಾರ್, ಇಂಥವರಿಗೆ ಕಾಲ ಈಗ. ಹೈಸ್ಕೂಲ್ ಪಾಸ್ ಆಗ್ತಿರ್ಲಿಲ್ಲ ಅವನು, ನಾನು ಹೆಲ್ಪ್ ಮಾಡಿದ್ದು. Like that some thoughts may arise. I am now like this. Now who asked you about who you are, what your worth is? But nobody needs to ask you. Your mind springs forth with the idea of my self-worth, my value, my status, some description. Now, I am taking a little liberty in interpreting this mantra. Some of you may have already guessed it. I am bringing a little Ramana already into this manaso manaha. Behind all thoughts make the mind. There is the bunch of thoughts describing. Please understand, the sense of I is never a problem. But when the I is described in terms of being high or low, good or bad, worthy or unworthy, that is when the problem begins. The basic sense of I is innocent. It is niraparadi. It is not guilty of either making you sad or you don't have to give credit to it. The basic I is, plain. But the moment I am far better than her, comparison, that description puts you up or throws you down. The Rishi says, manaso manaha. As I said, commentators help us. And as I said a while ago, a mantra of the Kenopanishad itself says, a few mantras down the way, Pratibodha viditam matam. In every bodha, prati is every, bodha is cognition, recognition. Whether I see somebody's Mercedes Benz or I see another classmate of mine who is having a hard time making the two ends meet, and I say, how can anybody help him? I don't know. I am far better. So in any cognition, for that matter, in the cognition, as I said, of a pen, here is a pen, a thought arose. Manaso manaha means, pratibodha viditam matam means, behind every thought which creates a scenario, thought creates a duality, thought creates a division between the known and the knower. Thought creates a division between the seen and the seer. Behind this division created by thought, there is a truth which is undivided, which is one principle that illumines, that lights up, that throws light on both what is known as well as the knower. Ordinarily, unless we inquire, unless we do shravana and then get the meaning right and then reflect upon it, unless we do manana is reflection, unless we do that, the usual influence of the world upon us is to embrace as though, hold tightly as though, a description of the knower. I see my friend's Mercedes Benz, and because of some past habit, some tendencies, a certain picture of my self-worth rises in me, that I have not been so successful as he is, and I embrace it tightly. I hug it so tightly, and then I never question it. That's the meaning of hugging very tightly. And if at all I think more, I only think outwardly. How can I also get a Mercedes? Or how can in some other way I beat him? I want to, show to everybody that in wealth he may be better, but in knowledge I am better. So this race begins. Maharshi Ramana or the Upanishads ask us, hold on, that you have been doing, that game you have been playing for no matter, we don't know how long. Why don't you, for a change, question the very picture, the very scenario that thought has created? Go behind thought in a manner of saying, Pratibodha viditam matam amritatvam hi vindate atmana vidya vindate viryam vidyaya vindate amritam. All strength, viryam in strength, is within you, says the Upanishad. Atmana vindate viryam. And if you wish to really get over, conquer, if you really wish to overcome a million weaknesses within you, or simply speaking, if you wish to overcome fear, if you wish to overcome insecurity, if you wish to overcome some anxiety, if you wish to no more live in uncertainty, rather you want to have a sense of stability. The stability is not really some kind of knowing for certain what will happen tomorrow. It's different. The stability is no matter what will happen tomorrow, I am all right. If you wish to overcome fear, which is a modern simple translation, I would dare say, of Amritattva. Amritattva is not about living 1,000 years. Amritattva definitely is not to live long years like some banyan tree or so. Once Vivekananda said to people, a banyan tree lives 500 years. So do you want to live like banyan tree? You want Upanishads to help you in that? Forget it. It's not about living on for many, many years. Rather, it is overcoming fear and a host of other negative energies that you and I suffer from. Jealousy, intolerance, impatience, lack of love, grudge, sense of revenge. 100 things bother us. Don't we want to overcome them? The Upanishads say, here is the way. First of all, continue to work, earn a living, all that is in its place. Nobody is asking you to give up your job tomorrow. Nobody is asking you to run away from the family tomorrow. That's not the point. Upanishads have better things than that. No matter where you are, vidyaya vindate amritam. Gain the higher wisdom. Gain the higher wisdom. Vidya is wisdom. Go to competent teachers. That's where Kathopanishad in the famous mantra asks us, right? Uttishtata, Jagrata, Prapya Varan, Nibodata. The word Vara there means competent teachers. Teachers who know the subject, who know self-knowledge in the right way. Teachers who are not just giving words and words, but who have an insight into the matter. Teachers who have intuitively seen the truth of what the Upanishads say. Go to them. They are Vara. They are Shrestha. Vara means Shrestha. Don't go to some ordinary orators, verbose people who will just give translation, who will just, you ask the meaning of one mantra, they will tell another mantra. You ask that, then another shloka, another. Finally, they bring you back to the original mantra where you started. Go taking you in circles. Or after attending or going to them several times, you also become a compulsive speaker. Whether others are interested or not, you go on talking. That is a terrible thing. They are not Vara. Uttishtata jagrata prapya varan nibodata shurasya dhara nishita duratyaya durgam patastat kavayo vadanti is a much quoted mantra. We are not here to go on reciting mantras. We want to say that if you get right insight, then you have Vidya. Vidya is a very tricky thing. In fact, I myself for a while got sort of hijacked by this insight that Vidya is not scholarship. So I stopped studying Upanishads. Then I ran into some trouble. I don't want to confess more. I make selected confessions. Then I saw that I was neither here nor there. Ito brashtaha, tato brashtaha. Earlier at least there was some scholarship. No, neither scholarship, no mantra or shloka I was remembering, nor was peace or fearlessness. Then I again went back to the Upanishads, the life-giving wisdom of the Upanishads. So Vidya is very interesting. What I want to say, apart from any autobiographical submission, Vidya, yes, in some sense, has nothing to do with books, in some sense. But if you go overboard and simply avoid books or teachers or, sources of wisdom. These days it is not books only. There are CDs and audios and videos. There are many ways. Let me broadly put it as, there are sources from which you get a certain fillip, certain insight, certain push, right? So if you hurriedly or hastily or carelessly say, I don't want to be bookish, so let me give away all my books. Quite possibly some of your old samskaras are waiting for this day. They say, now we got you. Old tendencies, pura samskaras. They come and attack you. They pounce upon you. And then you go down the road. So it's neither getting lost in scholarship, nor giving up or keeping away immaturely from those beautiful sources of wisdom. It is to stay with the essence. Be honest to yourself. If you think that you have moved away from the essence, get back with no delay to regain that essential insight. If you are very confident that you are anchored in the essential insight, keep the books away, sit quietly below a tree, sit quietly by the bank of a river, sit quietly or move around, walk around, all the time just watching life as a whole. Watching what happens to you, watching what reactions come from you, right? That is the whole. If you just watch others and are not aware of what's happening in you, that's partial. Or in the name of introspection, if you become so much obsessed with yourself and somebody asks you what is the time, you don't even hear, then that is another, alas, another great degradation. You must live in alertness, awareness, which has no boundaries, which has no, demarcation. A leper comes before you, ill-dressed, and everybody avoids him. If you are aware and alert, you will gently see him without a dislike towards him. And then you will do what is appropriate out of love and compassion. Whatever is hygienic, whatever is the right thing to do. If a very well-dressed, handsome man or a pretty lady comes before you, if you are truly spiritually mature, your awareness takes that handsome, well-dressed man or that beautiful, pretty woman, that awareness takes that person in its ambit But then, thanks to your heightened awareness, there will be no desire to be in the good books of the handsome man. There will be no desire to have the pretty woman want your company or some such thing. Right? You are aware. Your mind would behave. The mind is quiet. So what makes this possible is to anchor yourself in awareness which is above the mind. Friends, Upanishads no doubt have uplifting thoughts. But may I say, Upanishad is not about giving you a great thought and leaving you down there. It is to help you see what is beyond thought. And what is that? That is prajnanam. That is, Aitareya Upanishad has this Mahavakya. Prajnanam Brahma. The greatest truth of our life is not wonderful thoughts. I began saying humanity has been worshipping thought. They made a man who had great creative thoughts, man of the millennium, Albert Einstein. They did not make some Ramana Maharshi or some other seer, some other spiritual seer. Time magazine or any magazine is always under some popular pressure. One of the editors of Time magazine might have been pretty much aware of the great spiritual giants of the last millennium, but they dare not talk about it. If they make some seer of this or that tradition, then there will be more controversy than appreciation. If they take some mystic belonging to the Christian tradition, the Muslims or Hindus and all will be upset. If they take somebody from Eastern religions, Buddhism or Hinduism, there will be some other trouble. Time magazine will have to close down afterwards. Rather than collecting material and editing, they will have to fight all these social disturbances. So anyway, I am not a good analyst either in those matters. But my point is, put aside whom they called man of the millennium. All of us, of course, love and highly respect Einstein. He was in his own way a bit spiritual too. But the greatest accomplishment in human life is not to come out with some thought which shows how light is the fastest possibility. Nothing can travel faster than light. Einstein had found it out. And there are many findings of Einstein. That is not the greatest. If any of us can find that we are unfettered by thought, we are not shackled by thought, we are by nature free of fear or jealousy. My true nature is love. And how is this to come about? As long as you remain in the ambit of thought, you will not realize this transcendental truth. This transcendental truth is possible by putting thought in its right place and knowing that you exist irrespective of thought. That is manaso manaha. And that is how many other Upanishads also talk about. That is the highest truth, where you do not see anything other than yourself. You do not hear anything other than yourself. Where you do not smell anything other than yourself. Such lines are said in Chandogya, in Brihadaranyaka and so on. And they call it Brahma sometimes, Atma sometimes, Bhuma sometimes. So be it. Different are the names. Friends, today we have dwelt on one expression as a facet of self-knowledge. It should suffice to summarize here in English first, saying, Manaso manaha. It is not another mind, it is not another thought, this is a way of expressing. Actually, it is a principle of awareness. Prajnanam, prajna, jnapti. There are many words. But the best English word perhaps is awareness. Pure awareness or pure consciousness. Independent of thought. Thoughts rise and fall. Like in a sunbeam, dust particles dance. They shine. If there is a beam of sunlight and a lot of dust particles are shining, and if a friend were to ask you, what do you see there? You may first say, those shining dust particles. And only when your friend says, but how are you able to see them? Where are they dancing? Then you may say, it's the beam of sunlight. Same way, some wonderful thoughts you may have, some wonderful words she may say, some wonderful sensations that someone has, etc. are all fine. But all of them are contained, all of them rise and fall in what is called pure awareness. And that is self, the pure self. That is Atmajnana. Go home with a question. Is there something to me? Is there a dimension to me which is other than what I think and feel or what I experience through my senses, through tongue or eyes, ears, nose or skin? Is there some dimension of existence? Do I exist other than body and mind, senses and thoughts? Do I exist other than my emotions and feelings? Do I? Ask yourself seriously. Hold that question seriously. Then you will find the Upanishads become your companion in that great quest. Manaso manaha. A quick summary in Kannada for those who wanted it. ಇವತ್ತಿನ ದಿನ ಕೇನೋಪನಿಷತ್ನಲ್ಲಿ ಇರುವಂಥ ಒಂದು ಪ್ರಶ್ನೆಯನ್ನು ತೆಗೆದುಕೊಂಡೆವು. ಕೇನೋಪನಿಷತ್ನಲ್ಲಿ ಒಬ್ಬ ವಿದ್ಯಾರ್ಥಿ, ಒಬ್ಬ ಜಿಜ್ಞಾಸು, ಒಬ್ಬ ಉತ್ತಮ ಅಧಿಕಾರಿ, ಒಬ್ಬ ಒಳ್ಳೆಯ ಶಿಷ್ಯ ಕೇಳ್ತಾನೆ, ಕೇನೇಷಿತಂ ಪತತಿ ಪ್ರೇಷಿತಂ ಮನಃ. ಯಾವುದರಿಂದ ಪ್ರಚೋದಿತವಾಗಿ, ಯಾವುದರಿಂದ ಪ್ರೇರಿತವಾಗಿ, ಯಾವುದರ ಪ್ರೇರಣೆಯಿಂದ ನಮ್ಮ ಮನಸ್ಸು ತನ್ನ ವಿಷಯಗಳ ಕಡೆ ಹೋಗುತ್ತೆ? ಆಗ ಗುರು ಉತ್ತರ ಕೊಡ್ತಾನೆ, ಶ್ರೋತ್ರಸ್ಯ ಶ್ರೋತ್ರಂ ಮನಸೋ ಮನೋಯತ್. ಹೌದಪ್ಪ, ಅಂಥದ್ದೊಂದಿದೆ, ಒಂದು ತತ್ವ ಇದೆ. ಆ ತತ್ವ ಏನಂದರೆ ಅದು ಮನಸ್ಸಿಗೆ ಮೀರಿರುವಂಥದ್ದು. ಮನಸ್ಸಿನ ಮನಸ್ಸು ಅಂತದನ್ನು ಹೇಳ್ಬೋದು ಒಂದು ಕಾವ್ಯದ ಭಾಷೆಯಲ್ಲಿ. ಅದು ಇನ್ನೊಂದು ಮನಸ್ಸಲ್ಲ, ಮನಸ್ಸಿಗೂ ಮನಸ್ಸು ಅಂದರೆ ಮತ್ತೆ ಯಾಕೆ ಅದಕ್ಕೆ ಮನಸ್ಸು ಅಂತ ಕರೆದಿದ್ದು? ಅದರ ಒಂದು ಕೃಪೆಯಿಂದ, ಅದರ ಅನುಗ್ರಹದಿಂದ, ಅದರ ಒಂದು ಬಲದಿಂದ ಮನಸ್ಸು ತನ್ನ ಎಲ್ಲ ಕೆಲಸಗಳನ್ನು ಮಾಡಬಲ್ಲುದು. ಆದ್ದರಿಂದ ಅದಕ್ಕೆ ಮನಸ್ಸಿನ ಮನಸ್ಸು ಅಂತ ಹೇಳ್ತಾರೆ. ಒಬ್ಬ ರಾಜ ಒಳ್ಳೆ ರೀತಿ ರಾಜ್ಯಭಾರ ಮಾಡಿದರೆ ಇವ ಹಾಗೆ ಅಷ್ಟು ಒಳ್ಳೆಯದಾಗಿ ಹೇಗೆ ಮಾಡ್ತಾನೆ, ಅವನಿಗೆ ಯಾರು ಎಲ್ಲ ಹೇಳ್ಕೊಡೋದು? ಒಬ್ಬ ಅವನಿಗೆ ಒಳ್ಳೆ ಮಂತ್ರಿ ಇದ್ದಾನೆ, ಆ ಮಂತ್ರಿ ಒಳ್ಳೆ ಬುದ್ಧಿ ಹೇಳುವುದರಿಂದ ಈ ರಾಜ ಚೆನ್ನಾಗಿ ಕೆಲಸ ಮಾಡ್ತಾನೆ. ಈ ರಾಜನಿಗಿಂತ ಹಿಂದೆ ಈ ರಾಜನಿಗೆ ಅವನು ರಾಜ, ಅವನು ಹೇಳಿದಾಗ ಇವನು ಮಾಡ್ತಾನೆ, ಅದರಿಂದ ಇವನ ನಿರ್ಧಾರಗಳೆಲ್ಲ ಯಶಸ್ವಿಯಾಗಿವೆ ಅಂತ ಯಾರಾದರೂ ಹೇಳ್ಬೋದು. ಆ ಪ್ರಕಾರ ಸರಿ. ಈ ಮನಸ್ಸಿನ ಮನಸ್ಸು ಅಥವಾ ಮನಸ್ಸಿಗಿಂತ ಮೀರಿದ ಶಕ್ತಿ ಏನದು? ಅದನ್ನು ಒಂದಿಷ್ಟು ನಾನು ವಿಸ್ತಾರ ಮಾಡಿದೆ. ಸಾಮಾನ್ಯವಾಗಿ ನಾವೆಲ್ಲರೂ ಇಂದ್ರಿಯಗಳ ಒಂದು ಮಟ್ಟದಲ್ಲಿ ಎಷ್ಟೋ ವ್ಯವಹಾರ ಮಾಡ್ತೇವೆ. ಆಮೇಲೆ ಮನುಷ್ಯರು, ವಿಶೇಷವಾಗಿ ನಾವೆಲ್ಲ ಮನುಷ್ಯರು, ನಮಗೆ ನಮ್ಮ ಬಗ್ಗೆ ಒಂದು ವಿಶೇಷ ಹೆಮ್ಮೆ ಇದೆ. ನಾವು ಆಲೋಚನೆ ಮಾಡ್ತೇವೆ. ಆಲೋಚನೆ ಮಾಡುವ ಮೂಲಕ ನಾವು ಏನನ್ನೆಲ್ಲ ಸಾಧಿಸಿದ್ದೇವೆ. ಚಂದ್ರನ ಮೇಲೆ ಮನುಷ್ಯನನ್ನು ನಿಲ್ಲಿಸಿದ್ದೇವೆ ಅಲ್ವೇ? ಏನೆಲ್ಲ ವಿಜ್ಞಾನದಲ್ಲಿ ಮತ್ತು ಎಲ್ಲ ರಂಗಗಳಲ್ಲಿ. ಬರೀ ವಿಜ್ಞಾನಕ್ಕೆ ಹೊಗಳುವುದು ಸರಿಯಲ್ಲ. ವಿಜ್ಞಾನ ಎಷ್ಟು ಒಳ್ಳೇದು ಮಾಡಿದೆ ಅಷ್ಟೇ ಅನಾಹುತ ಮಾಡಿದೆ, ಗೊತ್ತೇ ಎಲ್ಲರಿಗೂ ಅಲ್ವಾ? ವಿಜ್ಞಾನ ಇರಲಿ ಅಥವಾ ಅರ್ಥಶಾಸ್ತ್ರ ಇರಲಿ, ಕಲೆಗಳಿರಲಿ, ಬೇರೆ ಬೇರೆ ಜ್ಞಾನದ ವಿಭಾಗಗಳಲ್ಲಿ ವಿಚಾರ ಮಾಡುವ ಮೂಲಕ, ಆಲೋಚನೆ ಮಾಡುವ ಮೂಲಕ, ಚಿಂತನೆಯ ಮೂಲಕ ಮನುಷ್ಯ ಅಂದರೆ ನೀವು ನಾವು ಏನೆಲ್ಲ ಸಾಧಿಸಿದ್ದೇವೆ. ಸತ್ಯ. ಆದರೆ ಉಪನಿಷತ್ತುಗಳು ಬೋಧಿಸುವಂತಹ ಪರಮ ಸತ್ಯ ಏನಂತ ಹೇಳಿದರೆ, ಈ ಮನಸ್ಸಿಗೆ ಮೀರಿರುವಂತಹ, ಮನಸ್ಸಿನ ಸೀಮೆಯಿಂದ ಆಚೆ ಇರುವಂತಹ ಒಂದು ಸತ್ಯ ಇದೆ. ಅದನ್ನು ಕೇನೋಪನಿಷತ್ತಿನ ಸಾಮವೇದದ ಋಷಿ ಹೇಳ್ತಾನೆ, ಮನಸೋ ಮನಃ. ಆಮೇಲೆ ಅದರ ಬಗ್ಗೆನೇ ಆ ಋಷಿ ಹೇಳ್ತಾನೆ, ಪ್ರತಿಬೋಧ ವಿದಿತಂ ಮತಂ. ಅದನ್ನು ಹೇಗೆ ಕಂಡುಹಿಡಿಯುವುದು? ಅಯ್ಯೋ, ಅದನ್ನು ಕಂಡುಹಿಡಿಯಲಿಕ್ಕೆ ಎಲ್ಲೆಲ್ಲ ಹೋಗೋದು ಬೇಡ. ನಿಮ್ಮ ಪ್ರತಿಯೊಂದು ವೃತ್ತಿಯಲ್ಲೂ ಕೂಡ, ನಿಮ್ಮ ಪ್ರತಿಯೊಂದು ವಿಚಾರದಲ್ಲಿ, ಪ್ರತಿಯೊಂದು ಆಲೋಚನೆಯಲ್ಲಿ, ಒಳ್ಳೆ ಆಲೋಚನೆ ಮಾತ್ರ ಅಲ್ಲ, ಕೆಟ್ಟ ಆಲೋಚನೆಯಲ್ಲೂ ಕೂಡ, ಅದು ಒಳ್ಳೇದಿರಲಿ ಕೆಟ್ಟದಿರಲಿ, ಹೇಗೆ ಒಂದು ಬೆಳಕನ್ನುವಂಥದ್ದು ಎಲ್ಲವನ್ನೂ ಪ್ರಕಾಶಿಸುತ್ತಲ್ವೇ. ಇಂಥ ಒಂದು ಸಭಾಂಗಣದಲ್ಲಿ ಬೆಳಕಿದೆ, ಒಬ್ಬರಿಗೆ ಏನೋ ದುಃಖ ಇದೆ, ಇನ್ನೊಬ್ಬರು ಬಹಳ ಖುಷಿಯಲ್ಲಿದ್ದಾರೆ ಇವತ್ತಿನ ದಿನ. ನಾಳೆ ಇವರು ದುಃಖದಲ್ಲಿರ್ಬೋದು, ಅವರು ಸುಖವಾಗಿರ್ಬೋದು, ಅದು ಬೇರೆ ಪ್ರಶ್ನೆ. ಇವರ ಸುಖ, ಅವರ ದುಃಖ, ಅವರ ಚಿಂತೆ, ಇವರ ವ್ಯಥೆ, ಇವರ ಏಕಾಂಗಿತನ, ಅವರ ಒಂದು ಕೃತಕೃತ್ಯತೆ, 25 ಬಗೆಯ ಎಲ್ಲ ರೀತಿಯ ಮನುಷ್ಯರು, ಬೇರೆ ಬೇರೆ ರೀತಿಯ ಮನುಷ್ಯರು ಇಲ್ಲಿ ಕೂತಿದ್ದಾರೆ. ಅವರೆಲ್ಲರನ್ನೂ ಪ್ರಕಾಶಿಸ್ತದೆ ಆ ಬೆಳಕು. ಆ ಪ್ರಕಾರವಾಗಿ ನೋಡಿ, ನಮ್ಮೊಳಗೆ ನಮ್ಮ ಎಲ್ಲ ವೃತ್ತಿಗಳನ್ನು, ಎಲ್ಲ ವಿಚಾರಗಳನ್ನು ಪ್ರಕಾಶಿಸುವ ಒಂದು ಸತ್ಯ ಇದೆ. ಪ್ರತಿಬೋಧ ವಿದಿತಂ. ಪ್ರತಿಯೊಂದು ಬೋಧದಲ್ಲಿಯೂ, ಪ್ರತಿಯೊಂದು ಬೋಧೆಯಲ್ಲೂ, ಪ್ರತಿಯೊಂದು ವೃತ್ತಿಯಲ್ಲೂ, ಪ್ರತಿಯೊಂದು ತಿಳಿಯುವಿಕೆಯಲ್ಲಿ, ಬೋಧ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಿದ್ರೆ ಇಲ್ಲಿ ತಿಳಿಯುವಿಕೆ. ಅದಕ್ಕೋಸ್ಕರ ನಾನು ಆಗ ಪೆನ್ ಎತ್ತಿದ್ದೆ. ಈ ಪೆನ್ನನ್ನು ನೀವು ತಿಳಿದ್ರಿ, ಅಥವಾ ಯಾರೋ ಬಂದ, ನಿಮ್ಮ ಮಿತ್ರ ಮರ್ಸಿಡೀಸ್ ಬೆನ್ಸಲ್ಲಿ ಬಂದ, ಅಂತ ನೋಡಿದರೆ ಒಳ್ಳೆ ಕಾರ್ ತಗೊಂಡಿದ್ದಾನಪ್ಪ ಇವನು ಅಂತ. ನನ್ನ ಹತ್ರ ಅಷ್ಟು ಒಳ್ಳೆ ಕಾರ್ ಇಲ್ಲ, ಅದಕ್ಕಿಂತ ಮುಂದೆ ಹೋಗಿ ನಾನಂತ ಭಾಗ್ಯವಂತ ಅಲ್ಲ ಅಂತ ಬಂತು. ಅದು ಏನೇ ಇರಲಿ, ಆ ಕಾರಿನ ಬಗ್ಗೆ, ಆ ಕಾರನ್ನು ಪಡೆದಿರುವ, ಕಾರನ್ನು ತೆಗೆದುಕೊಂಡಂಥ ಮಿತ್ರ ಇರಲಿ, ಕೊನೆಗೆ ಸುತ್ತಿ ಬಳಸಿ ನಿಮ್ಮ ಬಗ್ಗೆನೇ ಬಂದು ಒಂದು ವಿಚಾರ ಬಂತು, ಅಯ್ಯೋ ನಾನಂತ ಭಾಗ್ಯವಂತ ಅಲ್ಲ ಅಂತ. ಇನ್ಯಾವುದೋ ಕಡೆಯಲ್ಲಿ ನನ್ನಷ್ಟು ಸುಭಗ ಬೇರೆ ಯಾರಿಲ್ಲ ಇರ್ಬೋದು. ಉಪನಿಷತ್ ಏನು ಹೇಳುವುದು ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಿದರೆ, ಅದು ಯಾವ ಆಲೋಚನೆ ಇರಲಿ, ಆ ಆಲೋಚನೆಯನ್ನು ಬೆಳಗುವಂತಹ ಒಂದು ಸತ್ಯ ನೀವೇ ಆಗಿದ್ದೀರಿ. ಅದು ಎಲ್ಲಿದೆ ಅಂತ ಎಲ್ಲೋ ಹುಡ್ಕೋಕೆ ಹೋಗಬೇಡಿ. ನಿಮ್ಮ ಸ್ವರೂಪವೇ ಆ ಪ್ರಕಾಶ ತತ್ವ. ಇದನ್ನೇ ವಿವರಿಸ್ತಾ ಹೇಳಿದೆ. ಕೊನೆಗೆ ಇವತ್ತು ಮನೆಗೆ ಹೋಗುವಾಗ ಒಂದು ಪ್ರಶ್ನೆ ನಿಮ್ಮಲ್ಲಿ ಇಟ್ಕೊಂಡು ಹೋಗಿ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಿದೆ. ಎಂಥ ಪ್ರಶ್ನೆ ಅದು? ಅಲ್ಲ, ಇವರು ಸ್ವಾಮೀಜಿ ಹೀಗೆ ಹೇಳಿಬಿಟ್ರಲ್ಲ, ನನಗೆ ಒಂದು ಹೊಸ ಗೊಂದಲ ಉಂಟು ಮಾಡಿದ್ರಲ್ಲ ಇವತ್ತು ಅಂತ ಹೇಳ್ಕೊಳ್ಳಿ. ಒಳ್ಳೇದು. ಈ ಕೆಲವು ಗೊಂದಲಗಳು ನಿಮಗೆ ಒಳ್ಳೇದು ಉಂಟು ಮಾಡ್ತವೆ. ಶ್ರೇಯಸ್ಸನ್ನು ಉಂಟು ಮಾಡುವ ಕೆಲವು ಗೊಂದಲಗಳಿರ್ತವೆ. ಉಪನಿಷತ್ತು ಉಂಟು ಮಾಡುವ ಗೊಂದಲ ಕೊನೆಗೆ ಅಭ್ಯುದಯ, ನಿಶ್ರೇಯಸ್ಸಕ್ಕೆ ಕೊಂಡೊಯ್ಯುವಂಥದ್ದು ಇರಲಿ. ಎಂಥ ಪ್ರಶ್ನೆ ನೀವು ಮನೆ ತಗೊಂಡು ಹೋಗಬೇಕು ಅದು ಹೇಳಿ ಮುಗಿಸ್ತೇನೆ. ಆಮೇಲೆ ಒಂದಿಷ್ಟು ಪ್ರಶ್ನೋತ್ತರ ಮಾಡೋಣವಂತೆ. ಎಂಥ ಪ್ರಶ್ನೆ ಅಂದರೆ, ಇವತ್ತು ಸಾಯಂಕಾಲ ಸ್ವಾಮೀಜಿ ಹೇಳಿದ ರೀತಿಯಲ್ಲಿ ನನ್ನಲ್ಲಿ ಈ ಶರೀರ, ಈ ಮನಸ್ಸು, ಈ ವಿಚಾರಗಳು, ಈ ಆಲೋಚನೆಗಳು, ಈ ಭಾವನೆಗಳು ಇವೆಲ್ಲ ಅಲ್ಲದೆ ನನಗೆ ಅಸ್ತಿತ್ವದ ಇನ್ನೊಂದು ಆಯಾಮ ನನ್ನಲ್ಲಿ ಇದೆಯೋ? ಇದಲ್ಲದೆ ಕೂಡ ನಾನು ಇದ್ದೇನೋ? ಇಲ್ಲಿವರೆಗೆ ನಾನು ತಿಳ್ಕೊಂಡದ್ದು ನಾನಂದರೆ ಈ ದೇಹ, ನಾನಂದರೆ ಈ ಮನಸ್ಸು, ನಾನಂದರೆ ಈ ಭಾವನೆ, ಮುಗಿದೋಯ್ತು, ಕತೆ ಮುಗೀತು. ಆದರೆ ಇವರು ಹೇಳ್ತಾರೆ, ಇದೆಲ್ಲ ಬಿಟ್ಟು ನಾವು ಇದ್ದೇವೆ, ನಮಗೆ ಇನ್ನೊಂದು ಅಸ್ತಿತ್ವ ಇದೆ, ಇದೆಲ್ಲ ನಮ್ಮೊಳಗಿದೆ, ಆದರೆ ಇವುಗಳಿಗೆ ನಾನು ಸೀಮಿತನಲ್ಲ ಅಂತ ಇವರು ಹೇಳಿಬಿಟ್ರಲ್ಲ. ಭಾಳ ಗೊಂದಲ ಆಯ್ತು, ಇವತ್ತು ಬರಬಾರ್ದಿತ್ತು ಈ ಲೆಕ್ಚರಿಗೆ ಅಂತ ನೀವು ಆಲೋಚನೆ ಮಾಡಿಕೊಂಡು ನಿಮ್ಮನ್ನು ನೀವೇ ಪ್ರಶ್ನಿಸ್ಕೊಳ್ಳಿ. ನಾನು ಯಾರು? ನನ್ನ ನಿಜವಾದ ಅಸ್ತಿತ್ವ ಏನು? ಆ ನಿಜವಾದ ಆ ಅಸ್ತಿತ್ವದ ಉಪನಿಷತ್ತುಗಳು ಪ್ರಕಾಶಪಡಿಸುವಂತಹ ಅಸ್ತಿತ್ವದ ಆಯಾಮ, ಡೈಮೆನ್ಷನ್ ಆಫ್ ಎಕ್ಸಿಸ್ಟೆನ್ಸ್ ಏನದು ಅಂತ ಪ್ರಶ್ನೆ ಕೇಳ್ಕೊಳ್ಳಿ ಅಂತೆ. ಹರಿ ಓಂ. ಓಂ ನಮೋ ನಾರಾಯಣಾಯ. ಇವತ್ತು ಯಾರು ಓಪನಿಂಗ್ ಬ್ಯಾಟ್ಸ್ಮನ್? ಇಲ್ಲಿದ್ದಾರೆ ಈ ಕಡೆ. ಥ್ಯಾಂಕ್ ಯು. Yeah.
Brahma is only soul, is that light, whatever.
Right.
But some other acharyas like
Madhva.
only Bimba.
Correct.
How you not real.
Yeah.
And no, world is real, some people.
Correct.
How you
Okay. So I have already said that there are views and views. There are different interpretations. And some of the great teachers who have given other interpretations are also very great. We highly respect them. But I am here to present the Shankara standpoint, and you seem to ask me what is your opinion on the other standpoints. The other standpoints are very wonderful. Suppose you say I am a pratibimba, or amsha, I am a part, or I belong to Lord Hari. Suppose you take it intensely, it can take you to such great heights. Because, as I said in my lecture also, to say that I belong to Hari, Hari is my master. All I do is for the gratification of Hari. Or there are Shaivas who say in place of Hari they may say Shiva. It is all to please Shiva. You know what happens? In the process of that unconditional love, their ego goes. And when their ego goes away, they will discover in themselves such tremendous strength, unbelievable strength. Come what may, they will not be a victim of negative thoughts. Somebody may come, jail them, slap them, thrash them, whiplash them. They will, as one possibility. They can hit back also, there is nothing that prevents them. But whether they hit back or they just bear it, the inner story is they will have no complaint. They will experience in themselves great bliss. Yeah. So it is tremendous strength and tremendous bliss. All of us want strength. All of us want happiness. So strength and happiness to an unbelievable extent are possible is my view through the Dvaita, Vishishta Advaita also. The second part is Brahma Satya Jagan Mithya. There also, yesterday I had touched upon it. Probably, because we don't know what Adi Shankara really meant. Probably he meant this is all an illusion. Or it could also mean that as far as self-knowledge is concerned, as far as your liberation is concerned, this world has no say in it. Moment you have an insight, you are free. So it may not be literally negating that this is all an illusion. It has no power to make you miserable. Therefore, something that has no power at all to make you miserable, really speaking, is as good as non-existent. On the how a snake from whom or from which the fangs are removed, and I throw that snake at you, but because I thought you had not seen, but you had seen me removing the fangs. So you say, okay, and that snake lands on your shoulder. And like Lord Shiva, you say, okay. Everybody is surprised. How come he is so fearless? Because you know that this snake has no fangs. It cannot kill you. So likewise, it could be an understanding that my happiness is in my hands, thanks to the Atma Jnana. Yeah, no mind state, thoughtless state. That has been popularized or publicized or talked much. In the Vedanta, to have no thoughts has no importance. At best it is a certain experience which one may enjoy. See, when there are no thoughts, like when we are deep asleep, there are no thoughts. We are very happy. It is very refreshing to get even sometimes, 5 minutes of deep, thoughtless sleep is so refreshing. So samadhi, whatever, is all helpful. But in the Vedanta, it is said in unmistakable terms that what sets us free is not the state of no thought, rather it is the state of right thought. Right thought is, pramana janya. Just as, with the torch of light of torch, you illumine that apparent snake. Then you say, oh, this is only a rope, you are free. In like manner, with the Upanishad statements, Tattvamasi, etc., and you study it properly, and with proper guidance, I talked about it, Prapya Varan Nibodhata, you will have unmistakable recognition of who you are. Then you lose money, you say, some money went this way, other day it came, today it went. My self-worth doesn't change by that. That unmistakable recognition of you being not in the clutches of wealth, name, fame and all these things, that is a thought. It is a pramana-janya vritti. So some other names also are there for it. So Vedanta is about having the right thought, and this thoughtless state, we have no problem also with it. Once in a while if you are in thoughtless state, okay. But it is not credited with being the means to liberation. It's not moksha samagri. Moksha samagri is samyak jnana, samyak darshana. Seeing rightly, following which or accompanying which the right thought arises. Just as earlier there was a wrong thought, this is snake and it caused fear, and there is a right thought, this is rope, and there is peace. So thoughtless state is literally thoughtless state, but it doesn't have much. In some disciplines it has been highlighted. Brain is the seat of mind. Even when somebody dies and his brain is donated or etc., these days everything is possible, his mind moves over to another body. Just as software sits on a CD and you could have a backup in the software case. The CD might be crushed and pulverized, but the software, if it's available somewhere up in the cloud these days, they say, it can be loaded onto another CD. Therefore, the Sanatana Dharma stand has been, mind is a very sukshma, subtle substance that can stay, that can be independent of brain. Scientists may or may not agree with it, but that is our position. Mind is independent of brain, but when it is operating through the brain, it seems to be in hand in gloves, and it seems one. But when someone dies or otherwise also, you Google up and see this, what's her name? This Hong Kong lady who had out-of-body experience. Moorjani. Anita Moorjani. Just key in Anita Moorjani. Very interesting, the doctors were operating, she was watching that whole thing. So the mind is a powerful substance which can see things without these charma chakshu also. It was able to see. And then she re-entered and she got rejuvenated. She regained all health to the shock of all her parents or others. And now she is going round the world conducting seminars on reincarnation. But like thoughtless state, reincarnation, etc., is not a main topic in Vedanta. It's all, it can be a distraction also. Vedanta is about samyak jnana of your true nature. Yeah.
I think you were talking about I image yesterday.
Correct.
I thought with reference to today's talk,
Yeah.
I felt without I image,
Yeah.
how we can act in
Yeah.
the world.
Yeah.
Because it is the I image which motivates us to do something or the other.
Correct.
I felt all along what we are seeing is whenever there is a crisis
Yeah.
at any place,
Yeah.
it is the crisis, external crisis, which focuses us to concentrate on that and we forget ourselves.
Yeah.
And we concentrate on that.
Yeah.
In that event, suppose if we have got a great personality, these words will inspire us. It
Correct.
takes millions of people with them.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think what we are lacking is, I felt there has to be some focus outside.
Correct.
So Upanishad talks are great.
Yeah.
But it is not motivating us to do something.
Mhm.
That is my problem. I felt
Okay,
say that
well.
we have to forget our I image.
Uh-huh.
So I will not act at all afterwards.
I would make an important clarification here. What motivates us and what makes us work in a beautiful way in various fields is a certain functional side of yours. And the Upanishads never say erase or negate the functional side. There is a psychological side of your idea of who you are. That is to be erased. Just as an excellent actor acts out. He acts out as a hero or villain, a comedian or anything. And he knows who he is. So afterwards, when he is awarded, let us say, a prize, he even goes up and thanks everybody. He becomes emotional. And he even may say, yes, when I acted, I almost became that part. But I know I am not that. So the functional side of it is our personality. The personality is not, per se negated. Personality, in fact, becomes unobstructed. Today, because of the psychological side of ours, where we are, really believing that success makes me worthy, failure makes me unworthy, etc., our functionality suffers. So, the Upanishadic erasure of ego actually makes that functional self, become unobstructed, unhindered. It plays a better role. So let's take even a case study. Swami Vivekananda was deeply touched and highly inspired by this erasure of ego. He must have experienced a lot of things. Many of us regard him enlightened. Whether he was enlightened or not, he surely had gone to great depth of appreciation of Vedanta. Did he not only give lectures, did he not establish institutions and inspire people? He was a good team leader. So someone like Vivekananda was able to see all the time that the ego in him was false. At the same time, he recognized that I can speak, and he spoke. I can put together a team and build something, he built. I can guide this businessman, and he guided. I can help this lady out of her depression, and he helped the lady. So he did a million things. Now suppose you are a doctor, he is a vakil, a lawyer, and he is a writer. So the writing, the law and the medicine, practice of medicine, these are functional side. The functional side flows with no hindrance if the ego is silent. The ego is, I have been laboring to say from yesterday, ego is the psychological side. Today also I said, suppose I have a Mercedes Benz. Functional side is I plan out how to use it for my own pleasure, my family's pleasure, or once in a while I'll take my friends also on a ride. All that is functional side. But suppose down the road I start thinking, now that I have a Mercedes Benz, I'm going to change my circle. These old friends who are good for nothing. They are, because I have to know, I have moved to a different, league, So I'm going to join a different league and leave this. My own two brothers, I think enough is enough. I'm going to ditch them. These are egoistic thoughts. So when one takes this, we generally say, the wealth went into his head. The fame went into her head. So that is called, in addition to having an expensive car, something happened to the psychology. His behavior changed. People who used to respect, he doesn't respect anymore. Other day his own school teacher came and he had time, but he said, who has come to see me? Oh, it's your history teacher in high school. Tumne thale halu. Illa helu, al midde madidin ant helu. He even tells lies because it went into his head. This side is the ego, sir. It is the ego, erasure of ego is not about functionality. So a person with Upanishadic knowledge, though he has become world famous, when he comes to know that the high school teacher has come, he may be very busy. At least he will come out and say, I am very busy. Shall we meet? I would love to see you, sir. It's so great meeting you after all these years. Bhanuvara Bartira. So he will say, and that man will understand. Then man will say, Tumba busy idru kuda, he came out and fixed a new appointment and Sunday he has given me time. The other man also will understand. It's not that we should go on, stay with the same league. You may change your league also. But there is a quality, right? So the person with no ego has a different quality of moving to a different lifestyle or whatever, From, as in Kannada we say, Halli inda Dillig hogbod, Halli adarenu Shiva, Dilli adarenu Shiva, Jagavella Vande Shiva. There's a line. So that is also a description of no ego. Otherwise, once I go to Delhi, I think, So let's discuss this tomorrow again. That's what is this functional side, what is psychological side. If that is clear, then we will understand that Upanishads only clear up the psychological side. The functional side with vibrant thoughts and emotions. Functional is not just a machine-like working. It's vibrant thoughts, vibrant emotions, but healthy emotions, purified emotions. ಶುದ್ಧೀಕೃತ ಭಾವನೆಗಳು ಇವತ್ತು ಬಂದಿತ್ತು ಬೆಳಿಗ್ಗೆ ಆ ಥರ. That is the point, sir. So wonderful. Last question for the evening. Yeah. Correct. Na aparaha. Na aparaha. Yeah. Correct. Because that word mithya, the gentleman is asked, please feel free to move, those of you. What he meant by mithya is not clear. Right. Correct. True. Yeah. Sure. Oh, who are they? Correct. Oh, I think I once had that book. I lost it. I'll collect it again. I'm using his book. Correct. Paramartha Chintaman. Right. I have that book with me, but sorry, I have not read it fully. Correct. Thank you. No. I thank you for your very valuable inputs. Thank you very much. And we meet tomorrow again. Namaste. Namo Narayana.